Hey, I guess it's working. So this is my second live. It starts out weird because talking to yourself. It's, it's never easy. But um, I was thinking about if I'm going to do this, where would I do it at? And so I set up a little something, a little philodendron back there. Discount rack plant. So this will be joining me for now. And I just wanted to still get the work the kinks out of this. Getting comfortable with just chitting and chatting about stuff because it's not always going to be about plants. Plants are great and they're a vehicle for the to start the conversation, but um, I think it's not all you have to talk about because um, one thing I noticed that I know I've been doing, and I know I'm sure other people have been running into this, or maybe I'm looking for somebody that has, so I don't feel so bad. Um, is my backyard, which I took so much pride in the springtime. It's amazing how you give it a couple of weeks and you walk right by it like it doesn't even exist. Although things are really doing well on their own. Part of that is due to a really rainy summer. We've had a lot of moisture, so I've had to do no supplemental watering. But I just don't have time. I don't have time to go back there and pull weeds. I don't have time to go back there and like baby that area at all. I look out the window and I'm like, wow, it's still growing. And I'm happy about that. But I really just don't have the time to do what I want to do, which is like make it look nice. It's alive and it's thriving, but it don't look nice. And then the mosquitoes are, hey man, it's Andrew Hoffman. What's going on, buddy? Yes. Well, I grew corn this year. Never grown corn before, and the corn that I've grown, it's like 14 feet tall, but it has very little areas of corn on there. So for me, will I do it again? Maybe. I'm learning that it's a nitrogen issue, and I should have grown beans with the corn, or I should have amended the soil in some way. So I'm working out those kinks, but nonetheless, it's really nice to look at. I mean, corn farmers are amazing for the acres of corn that they grow. I have like 6 stalks back there. But how I acquired the seeds was I guess I insulted this lady, or unintentionally. She was in this gardening group that I'm in, and she posted this picture of this corn and looked poorly pollinated. The kernels were just all misplaced on the cob, and I was like, "Ha! I thought I knew what I was talking about." I said it probably wasn't properly pollinated. And she was like, "Well, first of all," she said, "it's whatever variety of corn, and this is the way it's supposed to look." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." And I'm pretty sure she wasn't offended. But she was very kind and sweet. She went one step further and asked me for my address, and she wound up sending me all these seeds, all heirloom varieties of different things, squash and watermelon and that specific corn, and some marigolds, which I planted, and they're ginormous, my favorite word, but they have yet to put on any flowers, which I'm sure they will eventually, but they're huge. They're like 3 feet tall. I've never seen marigolds that tall. Um, but yeah, it turned out to be a very sweet interaction, but just my ignorance getting the best of me. I thought I knew how corn grew, but I guess I don't. And I say that about any garden. Sometimes you get something that you can eat, and then sometimes you just learn something. Either way, it was a win. So, um, but yeah, so I found myself walking past this garden, and I'm just like, oh Lord, I need to pull those weeds. But then I think, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It may not be visually pleasing to me with all the weeds, but it's growing. And I think the universe, God, for all the moisture, because like I said, I try to have a garden that doesn't need too much supplemental watering. I don't have the time for that in the morning or in the evening. So with all the rain, it's been doing good. I live like in like a protected area, so the wind hasn't been too much of a problem with damage. I know a lot of people have lost their whole garden with these last couple of storms. So yeah, these storms have been crazy, and I'm kind of like in this little protected area, so I've been lucky. My tomato plant, not so much. It kind of like leaned over, but um it's a beef, no, it's a Cherokee purple tomato, heirloom variety, and you could chop it off and it will put out some suckers and take over again. So I'm not really worried about it, but again, it just looks unsightly. But what the direction I wanted to talk about tonight is how we use, well, how I was using my garden as a distraction from what was important, and this is just specific to me and my channel. Like I said, this gardening channel is probably not going to be talking mainly about philodendrons and coleuses and stuff like that. But sometimes there's a real person who's out here playing in the dirt. And why do people do that? What is this? What is the reasoning behind doing that? For me, it was therapeutic. Going out there in the dirt and soil, and just thinking about something completely different than what may be weighing you down, served as a good form of therapy. And I've talked to a lot of people here and on other groups where they're like, yes, absolutely, going and getting that soil and smelling it, and there's nothing better than the smell of a tomato plant, the leaves when you crush them, that green smell. It kind of like just, for if it's your thing, it really does something to you. And I used it for a while as a distraction from really dealing with issues. One being that 2020 just was roughed on everybody, and for me, it led to almost a 40-pound weight gain, because I would be out there playing in the soil with a snack, and it was just like, yeah, whew, and then at some point I had to like, okay, these plants are going to be fine, but what about you, my brother? What are you going to do? So I signed my ass up for a gym, and that's been consuming a lot of my free time other than going to work. So that's one reason why the back garden looks the way it do, because I'm out here trying to be physical now, and I don't really have very much time to be in the garden. But yeah, it did what it was supposed to do, and I'm sure it will in the future. Right now, balancing time and stuff like that is a thing. But yeah, that's it. I don't want to ramble on now. I just, again, trying this live thing out to see how it works. This YouTube channel, if I'm going to invest my time in it, I need to make it make sense. It has up until this point. I love posting videos because some of the responses are just so amazing. And I do appreciate, interacting with everybody. Like now, I'm talking to Mr. Hoffman here, and I really appreciate it. Because I know people, when they get hopes to the video later on, they might not be able to see it live. They're still able to extract the information. I'm a YouTube watcher. I've been watching YouTube since YouTube was, I'm sure, just outright out of a thought out of somebody's brain. It's always been a way to get information outside of mainstream and view people who are just creative and just want to express themselves in a visual way. Because most of us are visual people. I know I am. So I've always appreciated, you feel like you know these people, these YouTubers. Now it's just like a whole nother social media thing, and everybody wants to be a celebrity. But back in the day, it was kids in their basement just, venting and talking about their views on certain topics. Adults in their yard with the pixelated camera, but it was just, being able to have that connection with an audience. Now it's a whole nother thing. Everybody's like these Hollywood producers. Well, that's what it feels like anyway, and it's just not reality. Reality is that we just want to connect human to human. And so that's what YouTube was, and I think it always will be that way. But right now it's just a thing. Everybody wants to go viral. And I'm just like, okay, have fun. But people who have always been on YouTube understand that human connection. Like some of the channels that I watch are a lot of them are gardening channels, and I'm sure the people who actually produce the content don't know that this 6'4" black guy from an urban environment is watching their video, but I'm getting something from it, and all they're doing is simply just putting out content. It's not about going viral or being famous. It's just about, this is what I know and I'm sharing it, and then there's somebody out here enjoying it. And so yeah, that, and that's the pure side of YouTube is what I like, and you get that from just real people. So anyway, I like to have those real moments, and I have with the pre-recorded videos, and someone suggested that I start doing live videos. This lady on one of the Facebook groups, and I was like, well, why not? Why not do a live video? I don't have very much to talk about, but I like to talk. So, why not do it? Thanks, Patty. I really appreciate it. I will definitely keep it coming because, like I said, you do something that you love to do, you'll find people who, appreciate it also. And then you can talk about it. And so I'm not going to be here long. I just set up a little set. I put a little light back there, and I put a chair right here, and put the little philodendron here. And I said, well, this could be a nice spot. It's a very humble setup, and maybe twice a week I'll get on here and talk. I'll continue to do the work garden. If you're a follower of the videos, you see I have the area at work. And now this is probably a good time to explain that. So what I do for a living is health and human services. I work with people with intellectual disabilities and dual diagnosis. So they have a behavioral component along with having an intellectual disability or intellectual difference. Great people, great, community of people, because to be an adult and have these challenges your whole life, you just learn to work around these things. We just take for granted, us normal folk, that, being able to process things and work through things just comes normally, but for them it's a little different, and I just take such pleasure in helping them try to get over these challenges in their life. So one way I've done that was with the garden. One individual that I support, he expressed himself by being, very violent. And one day he was extremely violent, and it ended with a fence being torn out. And I, was like, okay, all right, interesting. That was towards the beginning of me doing this type of work. So I was like, okay, all right, we got this situation here now. How do we make it better? It was a couple months later, but these fence pieces just sat there, and I just thought maybe it served as a negative reminder to him. And I wanted to reverse that. So I said, let's take these fence pieces, these plastic, pre-made fence pieces. And I said, let's square off an area and make a little, pallet garden. And he looked at me like I had 7 heads on my head and was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, you said it nicely. I guess I can listen. So we proceeded to go and get pallets that were rated for food, and I used my own money at this time, and I bought some topsoil, and we put the pallets. And it was like 3 years ago, and we grew a tomato and a pepper plant, and maybe I think some onions that really didn't go anywhere. But again, it wasn't about whether we produced anything. It was purely about changing a behavior and developing a rapport and, getting outside of our heads. And so for him, it worked. I would come into work, and he would be like, we got to water the vegetables. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we got to go water the vegetables, And I had never heard him being more interested about something other than himself and his own thoughts and his perseverations in his head. So to have that be now a thing, I was like, okay, we'll be onto something here. And then it went from that to, I'm asking my supervisor, well, can we get a house plant? Because this place looks a little institutionalized, and I know in my house, you add a plant to make it feel a little bit more homely, and I felt like they needed that same type of atmosphere. So I brought an extra plant in there, one that I didn't care about because they had it in the back of my mind that it's probably gonna get destroyed, and don't take it personal. I'm like, it's gonna be all right, So I brought the plant in there, and the plant survived, and we're 15 plants in now. He's not really into watering the plants, but I really do believe that it adds to uh, the homely feel that I tried to create, and I truly do think he appreciates it. He occasionally says, "Oh, are you going to water the plants?" or something like that. But just that little bit is enough to let me know that it was a good decision, you know. And gardening in its purest form did it again, So the work garden is out of that, and it's been 3 years now, and we've slowly gotten bigger each year. One 2 years ago, yeah, we grew pumpkins, about 15 pumpkins, just from a seed. They have a huge backyard, so there was no limitations on that, and all we had to do was water it. And these pumpkins grew, and we went to a farm, and we were like, we don't need your pumpkins. We have pumpkins of our own. It was a thing. It was a good thing. So, and it continues. This year we have, as you see in the videos, we have the mammoth sunflowers, which are doing amazing. I'm looking forward to harvesting the seeds and roasting them, and letting that be a thing. We have the zinnias, which are ongoing. I love a zinnia. They're just a plant that keeps on giving. We have tomatoes and peppers and onions, and we harvested potatoes. If you saw a potato harvest video, and actually I said we, but I did it, and he was a little disappointed. He was like, "I wanted to harvest the potatoes." I said, "Well, you asleep." So, and again, it made me feel so good seeing that he was interested and wanting to participate. And it's just really been a good thing. So that continues. I have my front yard, which, okay, here's another story. This is my first home. I purchased this home when I was 28, out of a really bad situation. And I said to myself, never having owned anything, never having lived in a house with a front yard, I said, when I get a house with a front yard, it will be immaculate. When I come home, I'm going to want to come home. It's more than curb appeal. It was just more of a pride thing. That's my tree, and those are my plants, and you stand out there and you sweep, you like, it was a thing. It was a thing for me. So, and it's a thing. So I may not save enough time for the backyard, but that front yard is immaculate because it's a thing. you know and everybody comments, I know your neighbors are happy that you're on the block, and it's all so true. But for me, it's all about me. you know I hope they do get some enjoyment out of having a neighbor who takes pride in their space, no matter how big it is. But if they don't, that's fine. I know my neighbor directly to the right of me. He has a little raised flower bed out there with corn, and he has Brussels sprouts and some other things. I don't know if he's grown things in the past. Maybe he did. I didn't want to take the credit for, inspiring this man to want to have a raised bed, but it was such a beautiful sight to see activity other than, occasionally hiring somebody to just weed whack your weeds and go in your front door. I just don't waste that space. So anyway, um, that's how that started, the front yard, which I get so many compliments on here and in real life, for that space. And it brings me such pride because it came out of me always wanting a front yard all my whole life. And then to have one and be able to have it bring joy to myself and to others is a beautiful thing. And then the backyard, I was just like, I don't want to play basketball back here. I don't want to throw a football. I want to grow tomatoes, and I want to watch a bird land and feed birds. And, so, I was able to do that. And I've been able to do that. The springtime is so beautiful back there because it's like you don't hear anything but the chirping of birds and occasional woodpecker, and to be in the middle of the sea and just have that little bit of a oasis to escape to and call it your own is just a really sweet thing. So hopefully I can continue to create content based around my environment and the things that I enjoy. Again, I thrive off of the comments. You all are so generous with your compliments and your encouragements. And these lives, like I said, I may do. I hope so. I hope so. It, even if it's just a pot, you go and get your Patty. Go to any of these box stores and get the cutest little pot you see and you like, you know, and get some good soil and put a plant in it. If it lasts a month, you take care of that plant, and then next year you get two, and then next year you get three. But when you sit and look at those plants, you're gonna be like, I planted that, and it's gonna bring you a joy that is unmatched. And it starts with something small like that. But anyway, it's been 20 minutes. 20 minutes seems like a good time. Again, I thank you all for watching. I know others will watch in the future, and I thank y'all too. um, Again, I'll do this as often as I can. But in the meantime, peace and blessings. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Oh, I don't have to do it like that because this is live. Any questions? Anybody got a question? Is four of you in here? You're very welcome. Yes. It doesn't matter the space. You can live in an apartment and have just a patio, a little balcony. If you could put a pot and it gets a little bit of sun, you can grow something. So it's all, possible. Yep. I got it. I'll probably give you a little gas too. I don't know. It's possible. You didn't have to retract it. It was funny. I've been known to give people gas. Thank you. Yes. So you're very welcome, Mr. Hoffman. Yeah, small gardens are great, and I'm a part of these gardening groups on Facebook, and you post your one or two little sunflowers, and then there's this one guy who has to post his 49 acres of a sunflower farm. It's like, okay, dude, all right, so what? You beat me, all right. And I don't think it's intentional in that way, but it's easy to do. No, it's not easy to do things on a grand scale. No, it's okay to do things on a grand scale, but it's the one sunflower that can bring you just as much joy, and don't stop yourself because you only got a pot on the patio. It's all right to have a pot on the patio. That's a good title for a YouTube channel. If you want to be pot on the patio, go for it. Because, it's same feeling, rather the size is acres or just a pot. But anyway, I'm going to go. Thank y'all for watching, and peace.